This video walks through how you would create a simple model using CadQuery, and it's designed to take new users through the basics of using CadQuery and some of the fundamental concepts. CadQuery, for anyone that doesn't know, is a powerful parametric CAD scripting language, which means that you create a script like this and you execute it and you end up with a 3D object like this, or 2D object if you want to. And that gives you quite a bit of power in how you handle things and a lot of flexibility in how you generate your models. So if you've ever worked with OpenSCAD or OpenSCAD before, it shouldn't be too hard for you to get comfortable with CadQuery. Here I'm using the CadQuery module for FreeCAD. FreeCAD is an open source CAD application that CadQuery can run inside of. So you see here I've selected CadQuery from the Workbench menu, and then we've got this CadQuery menu up here. When you first open, and I'll put links for both FreeCAD and CadQuery down below. They're both free, open source. You can download them and use them very easily. The module opens a simple script by default, which is this one, and executes it. That's why you get the box over here. You've got the CadQuery menu here, which allows you to do the normal things. You create a new script, open a script, save, close. There are these examples here, which are really good things to start with. If you're new to CadQuery, you can open them and execute them and walk down through them one by one and learn everything from the very basic concepts all the way up to some more advanced ones once you get down here to these later examples. Here's the option to execute a script. I usually just hit the F2 key instead of going to the menu, and the clear output clears the information down here in the report view. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new script here. And when you select that new script option, you get a template like this here. At the top, you've got a couple of imports. CadQuery is the main library for CadQuery that allows you to do the CadQuery magic that creates the models. And I've created an alias for this here, imported it as an alias of CQ. And all that does is it makes your scripts a little bit cleaner and a little bit more compact. You're not calling CadQuery everywhere. You can call CQ instead. The show function from helpers is this one here that's actually commented out right now. That displays your model over here in the 3D view and allows you to set colors and transparency for that as well. So we'll go ahead and get started here with creating our simple model, which is actually what I'm going to walk through is in the examples under the pillow block with counterboard holes example here. So you can open that. Mine varies a little bit because I use things like this CQ alias, import alias, and things like that. But so there, with CadQuery being a scripting language, you can define variables and then use them later in your script. So I'm going to copy some variables in from this example here. So you see I've got things like length of the block, height of the block, thickness, things like that, counterbore, hole diameter, and all these things are so that you can put these variables in your script. So if you use counterbore hole diameter several places in your script, you only have to change it one place. You change this 2.4 to 2.5 and it updates all the way down through your script. Whereas if you just put the number 2.4 in, you'd have to go through everywhere that you use that number 2.4 and update your script. It also makes your script, if you make your variable names descriptive, it makes your script easier to understand. When you look at that variable that's in that line of code, you go, oh, okay, yeah, counterbore, counterbore hole diameter. So, So with CadQuery, once I've got those variables defined, I'm going to say R, which I usually think of as result. That's your resulting object. So I'm going to start with the CadQuery library, and we start with a work plane. And you can define work planes like on the X and Y axis, or the X and Z axis, or you can even, there are even name planes like front, top, things like that. Depending on the orientation you want, you can start it any way you want, but a lot of times I'll use XY unless I'm creating a model that is for 3D printing, and then I'll orient it so that the proper axis is in the, or it's oriented properly along the Z axis for printing. So we'll start off with we've got our work plane defined, so we can say we want a box, and we've already got our variables defined, so length, height, thickness. And at this point, if we go down here and we uncomment our show function and give it that variable here, R, that we stored our model in, then we should be able to execute this script. Zoom out, go isometric, and we execute this script, and we can see that it's created a box here. Another way to do this would actually be, instead of just calling a box, which is more of a convenience function, you could draw a rectangle and so you can see it's got you can do length, height, yeah, I want to do height, and then I can extrude that a certain thickness, which would be thickness. I'm going to comment this out because that's going to throw an error if I don't. So I can execute that, and you see you end up with the same box. You could do it either way. Later on, you'll see with the way CadQuery works, typically what you do is you end up selecting a face like this, and then you would draw something on it and extrude it, kind of like you would in any other CAD package. But for now, go ahead and leave box there. And a lot of times what I'll do here, I put a backslash at the end of the line, and that's so that that's a line continuation, so I can come down here and kind of indent things and keep it clean. But you could also just put everything on one line and tack everything on. But I kind of like to keep it clean, and it's easier to read if you kind of indent things. So in CadQuery, there's the concept of selectors. It's one of the most powerful concepts that CadQuery has, and it's based off of jQuery, if anybody watching has ever done any web development. So you can actually say, you've got a box, and it's got faces and vertices and edges and things like that. But you're going to say, I want to select a face, or I want to select the faces of this object. But I only want a certain one so that I can build new geometry on top of it. So I can use a selector like maximize in the Z direction, and it will select, if you look at this as the origin, and this is the Z direction going up this way, it will select your highest face, or the furthest one away from the origin, and then you can build on top of that. So once I've selected that face, I can create a work plane on top of that, and then for this pillow block, I want to create a hole, and I want to do center hole diameter, which we defined above. So now, if I execute it, you see that we've got a hole right in the center. So what I did is I selected this face and said I want to start drawing on that face by creating a work plane, or I want to use that as the basis for the new geometry or the new drawing. And then I just told CadQuery to make a hole, and it figured out which direction was the correct direction to go from the normal and cut the hole through. So then I can go on from there, and I can select the same face, this face and the z-axis. Establish a work plane again. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a rectangle on that face. And I'm going to say I want to draw this rectangle, but I want it to be inset from the edges a little bit because I'm going to use it to construct geometry later. I'm going to use it to place the counterbore holes. So the rectangle, length -8, shorten it a little bit. Height -8, shorten a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is say for construction equals true. And what the for construction argument does, or the parameter does, is it says I don't want to use this to create geometry. Like, I don't want to take this rectangle and extrude it up or cut it down through. I want to use it to place other geometry later on. So once that's in place, I can say vertices. So what that's doing is it's saying I want to select the vertices of whatever was the last thing. So the last thing you put on the stack was a rectangle. Alright, so that rectangle has vertices, which the vertices would be like in these corners here. So this rectangle that we can't see right now because it's just there for construction has vertices, and they would be like right here, right there, right there, and right there. And we're selecting all of those. And then I can say counterbore hole, and we've already got our variables defined, like c-bore hole diameter, c-bore diameter, and c-bore depth. So I've got my counterbore hole diameter, which would be the actual hole that the shank of the bolt goes through. Then you have your counterbore diameter, which is your bore that the head sits in, and then you've got the depth for the counterbore as well. And what this did, you notice we selected all the vertices here, so there would be 4 vertices of this rectangle. We were able to select all of them, and then we tell CadQuery we want a counterbore hole at each one of those vertices, and it when you do that, CadQuery figures out, okay, there are 4 vertices here. I need to perform this counterbore hole operation for each one of these vertices. So now, if we execute, looks like I've got, I misspelled work plane. Alright, let's try and execute again. Okay, there we go. So now you see our rectangle, our 4 construction rectangles here. Each of the vertices were here. And then we created those counterbore holes. So if we rotate a little bit, you can see there's counterbores with holes all the way through. We got the openings of the holes here. So that's how the pillow block works. So now what we could do is, with the show operation, now that we have our model or our 3D solid the way we want it, is we can come down here and we can start messing around with colors, modifying things, or we can change the transparency, like 50% transparency, and things like that. And we can kind of change how it displays. So that's a simple model in CadQuery. As I say, it kind of shows you some of the core concepts, like being able to tell CadQuery to do something with multiple objects, and it just kind of iterates through and does something for each of them. Selecting faces, that is a huge help. And one of the really great things about CadQuery is these selectors, the concept of selectors. So If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them and try and get everybody I can up to speed on CadQuery. It's really great. Thank you for watching.